On Saturday, I go 2-0 with my complimentary plays, cashing with the Nationals on the run line against Philadelphia and also scoring with the Rangers against the Oakland A's. But my best bet loses as I fail to cash in with Arizona on the run line as the Diamondbacks lose outright as a home dog against Pittsburgh. But you know what? Sometimes it happens. And what do? You shrug your shoulders and you move on. But before I move on to today's complimentary play, as I take a look at game number 1 between Golden State and San Antonio, quick word about baseball betting. Obviously, the NBA season is winding down here in the playoffs, and baseball is going to step forward to front and center as it takes the emphasis of our gambling here for the next couple of months. Baseball, as I've always told you, has been the easiest sport to make money in. It's always been my most profitable sport. A lot of guys out there aren't interested in betting baseball. I understand why, because it's something that's a day in, day out thing, but that's what makes it so easy to make money, because of the patterns that develop, because you have teams playing 3 and 4 game series. You have teams playing 6 or 7 games a week. You can count on the pitchers that you most like or most like going against, going every 4th or 5th day. That's the beauty of baseball betting. But there's a strategy involved as well. And let me go back to what happened to me on Saturday. So I had the Arizona Diamondbacks yesterday as my best bet. And listen, no matter what happened, I'm here to tell you, yesterday I had 3 plays I liked. 2 of them I gave to you as complimentary plays. They won. Arizona, there is no regret. Diamondbacks still would have been my best bet if I had to do it all over again. But the way I played Arizona yesterday is what I want to talk about. Arizona, when I released that play yesterday, I could have played Arizona straight up on the money line, and the Diamondbacks were like a 145 to 150 favorite. My personal limit is about 160, but very, very rarely do I even go touch 150, because to me that just doesn't make a lot of sense. And the way baseball betting has evolved over the years, you have to play the the run line, because nowadays you get a number 3 or a number 4 starter just because he's pitching at home. Hell, if that team that he's pitching for has won 3 straight games, hell, on a money line, he might be a 145 favorite. It just is nonsensical. It's why the past 15 years it has made baseball betting so much wiser to play teams on the run line rather than on the money line. So instead, even though I've accumulated a heck of a profit over the past 3 weeks, even though yesterday that was a 5-dime play, and I had won 9 out of 10 5-dime plays going into that play, even though going into yesterday I had won 6 straight plays going into that contest, 6 out of 7 going into that contest, I figured, no, why am I going to lay $1.50, $1.55 on Arizona? The wiser investment was to go ahead and take the Diamondbacks on the money line. They had won 2-1 behind Zach Greinke's near no-hitter in the opening game of the series. They had scored, I think, 11 or 12 runs the night before. Their bats had been booming. They had a great home record. Okay, they lost, but I managed the loss. Now, there is no such thing as a good loss, but there's a smart loss. And when you're playing baseball on the run line, when you're taking that loss, and instead of laying $1.50, and instead that 5-dime loss in my case last night was actually an underdog loss at plus $1.35, when you can minimize your losses and maximize your potential return by playing a team on the run line as opposed to laying the big money with them on the favorite, that's the strategy involved in baseball betting. And that's the thing I'm telling you in baseball that will make you more money and save you more money than anything else you can possibly do throughout the summer. And it's just something to always consider when it comes to gambling on baseball. Okay, let's talk about this little game between the Spurs and the Warriors. Are the Warriors going to win the series? Duh. Yeah, I think so. But that's not the question we have to ask ourselves today. Game number 1, can the Warriors cover the spread? I've told you about the Warriors so many times here in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. This is a Golden State team that I have just had absolutely no faith in when it comes to laying the double digits at home this season. So I went back here, and I looked at their regular season record, and I sat here and I looked at every single home game. They were a double-digit chalk this year, and the results were this. Laying double digits at home this season, regular season, they were 17-16-1 against the spread. Now, does that sound like a team that was a great moneymaker? No, absolutely not. So, what did they do in the first round of the playoffs against the Portland Trail Blazers? Not too well, needless to say, because in the first round against Portland, and actually, let me back up. Let me just back up before I get to how they did against Portland and Utah. And let me give you an overall look at how teams have done here in the postseason. So far in the postseason, going into today's game, favorites in the playoffs overall are just 6 games over 500. Home teams in the postseason are 6 games under 500. Kind of interesting. Okay? Now, first round of the playoffs against Portland, the Warriors split at home, both times double-digit favorite, going 1-1 against the spread. Now, on the road against the Trailblazers, they were 2-0. Both times they were single-digit chalks. In the Utah series, second round, both home games failed to cover as a double-digit chalk. Both road games, single-digit favorite, covered both games. So, 4-0 on the road, right? All single-digit chalks, 4-0 against the spread. 4 games at home so far in the postseason, all laying double digits, 1-3 against the spread. And as I told you, 17-16-1 is a double-digit home favorite during the regular season. Now, the one thing the Warriors have going for them, however, is that they're the healthier and more rested team. They've only played 8 games here in the postseason. They have the best point differential of any playoff team so far, 16.5 points. They played 4 less games than the Spurs. They are more rested. They last played May 8th. You know what the Spurs have done here in the postseason. Now, Spurs are getting Leonard back. He's healthy, went through a full practice yesterday. They, of course, are without Tony Parker. But they do have one advantage as far as I'm concerned. They have the biggest coaching mismatch here with Greg Popovich against Mike Brown. Mike Brown, I thought, was lousy in all his different stints as a head coach, the last one being with the Cleveland Cavaliers. This may be Steve Kerr's team, and Steve Kerr may have a phone up to Mike Brown's ear right before the game and halftime as well. But listen, I think that's a definite thing that hurts the Warriors in this contest. And the other thing is that Popovich has the advantage that he can go big or he can go small. You saw him do that frequently in the Houston series. When he wants to go with Gasol and go with Dedmon, he can certainly go big. And let's face it, that is one of the Warriors' problems this season. They do not have a rim protector. Yeah, they got Draymond Green, and Green is going to be a problem going against LaMarcus Aldridge. That is definitely a matchup problem for the Spurs here. But the Spurs do have size. Now, are the Spurs going to be able to contain Kevin Durant? Well, Leonard's never really had a lot of success doing so. Any day now, I keep expecting for the Warriors, for Klay Thompson to finally go off. He has had a very quiet 8-game playoff run so far. And you look at the backcourt. Is Patty Mills going to be up to the challenge of stopping or at least containing Steph Curry? Is Danny Green going to be able to work his defensive magic against Klay Thompson? Ultimately, this game comes down to whether or not the Warriors are going to be able to cover the 10-point spread. That's all it comes down to. And I've just seen so many times this season where the Warriors simply leave the back door open. They jump out to these big leads, and then they just toy around and let the other team hang around. And coming off this long, extended break, I just wonder, is there going to be a little rust involved? So, for a number of reasons, I'm just going to go with San Antonio here. Listen, guys, I want to bet this game if you paid me, okay? But I'm willing to give the Spurs the benefit of the doubt with a roster that has a little versatility, with Popovich where Didn't game number 1 in the Houston series look like the Spurs had absolutely no chance after they got annihilated at home? And how did that turn out? You just can't discount them. And I look at this Warriors team and you look at all the talent, and sometimes I look at them and I go, great fantasy team, but sometimes they just don't put it all together on the floor at one time. So I'm willing to take a shot with San Antonio in this one. I said prior to game number 6 in the Houston series that I was still waiting for LaMarcus Aldridge to show up and be that guy that used to be a superstar in Portland. Well, he showed up in game number 6, okay? Maybe he'll show up in game number 1 again tonight. Who the hell knows? But that's the guy that San Antonio certainly needs to show up here tonight. And Paul Gasol, who had been pretty much missing in action offensively throughout that series as well, he showed up in game number 6. That's a guy they need. They also need steady contributions as they got throughout the Houston series from guys like Jonathan Simmons and from Danny Green as well. That's what I mean. So they've got versatility, they being the Spurs. And if they get those type of contributions, they could stay in this game and cover the number. So I'm going to go with San Antonio plus the points. It's a hunch, but what the hell? I mean, I'm on a 15-6 run with the complimentary plays in the NBA here on the video report. So good luck, everybody, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow when we do this one more time.